Calling to order the regular city council meeting of October 15th, 2013. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Middleton.
Here.
Council President Henderson.
Here.
Councilor Grant.
Here.
Councilor Colson.
Here.
Councilor Butterfield.
Here.
Councilor Langer.
Here.
Councilor Clark.
Here.
Thank you.
Our first item is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the October 1st, 2013 council meeting minute.
I'll move consent.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next is a presentation by TriMet. It's on the Southwest Enhancement Plan.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Tom Mills. I'm a service planner with TriMet, and I'm here to talk to you today about TriMet's Service Enhancement Plan. TriMet's Service Enhancement Plan is an effort to take a look at service in the southwest portion of the metro area in our service district, and at ways we can improve service both in the long term and the short term. The plan itself is actually a recommendation coming out of the first phase of the Southwest Corridor Plan that Metro is pursuing. We'll be looking at, while Metro is looking at the high-capacity transit potential for the southwest portion of the region, we'll be looking at more of the local service for this area. As high-capacity service is developed, communities want to say and what the local service will look like. They want to say early on before decisions are completely made on the high-capacity service. And so that's what this effort is about. It's time for a major review anyway. It's been a long time since we've really looked at comprehensively at the service in this portion of the region and how we can make it better. We see ourselves coming out of the recession, and we hope that we'll have some funds that we can do some new things. And so now's the time to start planning for that. TriMet is, besides the Southwest Service Enhancement Plan, TriMet is engaged in looking at the entire region on a kind of a sub-area level. We recently completed a plan called the Westside Service Enhancement Plan that looked at the Beaverton, Hillsborough, Cornelius, Forest Grove areas, essentially Shoals Ferry Road going north. And then this plan, the Southwest Service Enhancement Plan, will be Shoals Ferry Road kind of going south, swinging to the river. All the plans together are going to be looking at ways that we can find near-term, low-cost improvements, but also long-term improvements as the economy improves to better serve the region. Much of the service in the region, was designed a long time ago when the thought was that, everybody wakes up in the morning, they get on the bus, and they go into downtown Portland for work. Well, we know that's not the case anymore, but the service itself has not changed to meet that new reality. So, these sub-area plans, the service enhancement plans, will be addressing that. What I'm showing you here is a map of what the service looked like before we created the Westside plan. And I want to point out the Westside plan can be found on TriMet's website. This is what we heard from folks and what we saw in the demographic data and the trip pattern data was that a lot of people wanted to go north-south. But if you look at the map, you'll notice we don't have a lot of north-south service in Hillsborough, Beaverton. A lot of folks also wanted more frequent service. The orange line represents our frequent service line, our only frequent service line in that area of the region, and people wanted more frequent service. The next map shows you what we came up with after we worked with the community to come up with a plan. You can see there's quite a bit more north-south service, and there's quite a bit more orange in the map, which shows greater frequency. In fact, the green line actually shows a recommendation for a future high capacity line on TV Highway. I show you these maps because this is the kind of example of what we would like to do for the southwest portion of the region. We would like to come up with a future vision for long-term service improvements that we can then start working towards implementing to improve your transit service. I mentioned earlier that the boundaries of the study area is essentially Shoals Ferry Road going kind of southeast to the river. This is an area that's a bit larger than what the Southwest Corridor process that Metro is heading up, what they are looking at. Because frankly, transit service doesn't, stay within boundaries. People want to travel within their communities, but they want to travel beyond them as well. This boundary also includes Wilsonville, which is not in the TriMet district, but we have a lot of overlapping services, and we really need to look at ways that we can more efficiently work together. And as I mentioned, just because we have this study area doesn't mean we won't be looking beyond the study area. This is where we're going to focus our attention here, but some of the recommendations may go beyond this study area. So let me talk a little bit about the process. It's really what I call a two-pronged process. There's starting out with kind of the look at data collection, looking at demographic data, but also trip pattern data. Where are people working? Where are they living? What connections are they trying to make? And then there's also the outreach portion. And that's part of why I'm here tonight, to talk with your community about where they would like to see new service, where they think the improvements need to be, where are they experiencing congestion, what are they frustrated about not having transit service, and where they'd like to see it to go. We'll be doing that through the fall into the early winter, and then once we have completed that, we'll kind of take all the information that we've seen both in the data but also from recommendations, and we'll be putting them together, and we'll kind of be coming up with some themes. I mentioned previously on the west side, one of the themes was people wanted to go north-south, and we didn't have a lot of north-south service. Looking in the southwest portion of the region, the first thing that jumps out at me, two things that jump out at me. One, in Sherwood, you don't have a connection to the industrial area, in the Sherwood industrial area as well as the Tualatin industrial area. There's no east-west service in this area to speak of. So that's something we need to look at. Additionally, if you look at the map, the TriMet system map, you'll notice a lot of our service that serves the southwest portion of the region is peak hour only service, basically commuter service. We know that this part of the region, doesn't just travel during the commute times. You travel all day long, and so it's time for us to start addressing that. So as we come up with those themes, we'll then develop a vision for what we think some recommendations should be for improved service. Just like the map I showed you earlier for the west side, we'll be developing a map for the southwest. And then by summertime, we'll be coming back and talking to our stakeholders and community groups about, what do you think of this? Are we right? Are we wrong? Some folks will probably be happy. Some folks will say, this is great, but why didn't you put that in there? And I hope we'll get some really good feedback. I'm sure we'll be able to improve service. I can tell you that we won't probably be able to make everybody happy, but we hope to make as many folks happy as possible. And then finally, by the end of 2014, we hope to have a document that we'll all kind of agree on, that that's where we want to go with the vision, and be able to put it out in a document. Early implementation. We hear a lot from folks involved in the Southwest Corridor process about wanting to see changes on the ground sooner rather than later. They don't want us to wait until the Southwest Corridor develops a recommendation for high-capacity transit and construction's done and it's completed. They want to see changes sooner than that. And so that's what we're interested in doing as well. I mentioned on the slide there, we're already looking at restoring frequent bus service back to where it was previously, starting this March. But also I mentioned, I show on the slide lines 47 and 48. There were some recommendations in the Westside plan for improvements to those lines, and we made those improvements this past fall. I bring that up just as an example of how once we come up with the plan, we want to start making improvements as soon as we can. It will be expensive. We won't be able to do everything at once, but we want to start incrementally every year showing progress towards completing the vision once we have it developed. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Well, one thing I want to say is I've been involved with our community development director, and I can't thank you enough. You guys have been super cooperative with us, and we really thank TriMet for what they're doing. They have improved some of our service, and we're not totally involved with some of the issues that are in the Southwest Corridor, but we will be involved, and we really do appreciate that. And so really any council person who has questions, Julie will be our contact here, but does anybody have any questions for right now?
Yes.
Could you go back to your process slide,
Yes.
please, Mr. Mills? So, public outreach obviously can take a number of different forms, right?
Yes.
So, can you give us an idea of how you will reach out to people who may not be riding the bus
Great.
right now because it's just not convenient? You've mentioned we have no east-west, but in reality it's west-east. Really, for most people, they want to go to Tualatin and either get on west or travel to Wilsonville, because we have a lot of people who live in Sherwood who work in Wilsonville. And so I'm just curious if you could enlighten us, or me at least, on how you'll reach out to people who may not take advantage of West or buses just because it's not convenient right now.
Yes. Thank you for asking that question.
Sure.
So a couple things. We've identified stakeholders in all the communities that we want to reach out to. An example here in Sherwood is the Chamber of Commerce to talk to the folk. In fact, I have an email that I need to respond to from the Chamber of Commerce about setting up a meeting to talk to folks there about their needs and where they see a need. But also, Julie and I have also been emailing a little bit about holding a community meeting where people can come in to the meeting to give us ideas on how they would like to see the service improve. We probably would do kind of a charrette-style meeting where people get to break out into tables with maps and pens and draw on a map. And there'll be some guidelines, but draw on a map and show us, if you could design the service, how would you design the service? So those are examples of, we'll be kind of trying to do one-on-one meetings, but we'll also be trying to do a community meeting where anyone and everyone can come.
So as part of your study, will it consider service within the city of Sherwood?
Absolutely. I mean, service...
Like from a spot in Sherwood to a spot in Sherwood. Not a spot in Sherwood to Tigard. That's what I'm getting at.
It will certainly consider that. I will tell you that kind of a circulator is what you might be thinking of. Typically don't do as well in terms of ridership. If this community was really strongly wanted a circulator, we might make a recommendation that we partner with the city as well as a nonprofit provider to design something that could be run. But if if you're trying to get from point A to point B in Tualatin, and after you get off the bus to point B and the bus continues to Tigard, that is just as useful to you as a circulator would be.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone on this end? Any questions? In regards to the circulator, doesn't Tualatin Chamber do a circulator for their city right now?
Yeah, it's a partnership between TriMet and the Tualatin Chamber. TriMet applies for federal funding for that circulator, and we disperse that funding to a number of programs around the region. The Tualatin Chamber is one of those recipients, and that funding pays for the Tualatin Chamber shuttle. Yes.
So that's something we could look into for us also.
That is, yes. I will say that it's always a struggle to find grant funding, but particularly communities on the edge of the urban growth boundary, we're looking to try to find alternative funding to do more flexible type of services. And another example I would point out is in the city of Forest Grove, where just this September we partnered with them as well to provide a kind of community shuttle bus that serves the neighborhoods of Forest Grove that, frankly, a TriMet bus probably wouldn't get enough rides to make it financially feasible. And, frankly, those communities probably don't want a 40-foot bus running down their streets. So we were able to partner with the city and Ride Connection to develop a community shuttle bus.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that one of the reasons why we wanted Tom to come and speak to you this evening is we know that local transit service is an important issue in Sherwood. We talked about that in the Town Center Plan as well as the Southwest Corridor Plan. So we just want to make sure that the council is really aware that this is happening and that there will be opportunities to get involved. We want the community to know that, and we'll try to find every opportunity we can to get the word out and get feedback, because it's really only as valuable as the input that is received. So we really want to make sure we get really good input throughout this process.
Julie, would you also, when the chamber meets with you, it might be advantageous, I think the chambers and the Y are, the Y president, I think, is the chamber director or something, to bring the Y in as a partner too might be advantageous for us, because a lot of people, that's one of their issues, they want to get to the Y. So.
And thank you for bringing that up. The YMCA is on my list, and Julia, I think, particularly mentioned the Teen Center at the Y as being particularly an attraction that folks want to get to.
I have something I'd like to ask of Julia. As we try to get the word out, how can we, outside the box thinking, capture those riders from Sherwood? How can we let them know? Because this is the conversation that they need to take part in.
I think it's more not the riders, it's the potential riders that you're talking about, because I think TriMet is going to be able to probably do a fairly good job of getting the word out to the riders.
Yeah.
It's the others, and I think just expressing that we're looking at the local service, we need to, as TriMet moves forward, create a link on our website so we can make sure we point people in that direction. And really any stakeholder, and we've started brainstorming a list of stakeholders like the Y and the senior center and the schools. If you identify stakeholders that you think maybe could benefit from increased local transit service both within Sherwood but also outside Sherwood, I think sharing that with me, and we'll make sure that through TriMet or Sherwood that we're reaching out to those entities to make sure that they understand what this is doing and what this can be doing.
And in the publications, how do we let them know about this data collection process and their opportunities to speak? Are we putting stuff in our local, the Archer, the Gazette?
So
Yeah.
I have been in touch with Jim Redden from the Tribune, and I understand the Tribune owns a number of the local papers in Washington County. And so he and I have been talking, and he is, well, I should also tell you that there is a community meeting that is being already set in stone in Tigard for November 6th. He will be writing an article in preparation for that. And as these community meetings come along, we're going to be working with him to kind of get the media attention for them as well. But anything that we can build on top of that would be great.
Yeah, I think also obviously the Archer is a perfect opportunity for us to get the word out. At this point, there aren't specific meetings set, so it's hard to just say. I mean, we can get some information out that this is a project that's going on, but it's easier if you have a specific thing that you're inviting people to. But maybe we can work on some different publicity materials.
Well, as we look ahead to a date and time that'll be like the November 6th meeting, I just want to make sure we're prepared to hit all of the buttons. I'm thinking of, the chamber is a really great resource because of their membership. They can put out an e-blast and say, make sure that your employees know about this conversation. And
Great, thank
Any
you.
more questions? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We're moving on now to new business. Resolution 2013-054, establishing the decision-making structure and appointing the local citizen advisory committee for the city transportation system plan update. Mr. Galati.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The resolution before you is basically to establish a citizen advisory committee, a technical advisory committee, and the steering committee for the city's transportation system plan update. As you know, we applied for and received a TGM grant to do our TSP update. We are now in the process of, well, to get to this point, we defined a process where we felt that the structure of the public input and review process of all the data would be best served by a CAC and TAC steering committee process. So based on that, what you see before you is a plan by which we basically go through and get this TSP update concluded in working. We had set this out to the papers and things like that on September 23rd. We ran it for a week. During that week-long period, we had 5 applications from citizens. We didn't feel that was enough. We were looking for at least 10. So we extended an additional week up to, I believe, October 4th, where we had received an additional 5 applicants. In reviewing the applicants, they appeared to have a broad spectrum of interests that fit the need. And so what we've done is we've gone through with the Planning Commission and asked them if they would look at these applications and see if they had any problems with any of the applicants being voted onto the board or the committee, as it were. So far, we have received no indication that there are any problems with the applicants, that it is a good makeup, it's broad enough to serve our purpose. So what we're asking for is for you to approve the resolution and to establish all 3 committees, basically the steering committee, the technical advisory committee, and the CAC, the citizen advisory committee.
Council comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll move we adopt Resolution 2013-054.
I'll second.
Hopefully got it right this time.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our next new business is Resolution
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
2013-055, creating the City Charter Review Committee. City Manager?
Mayor and Council, you may recall back in the spring during your council retreat, one of the goals that the council wanted to accomplish this year was to establish a charter review committee. The last time the charter has been reviewed was back in 2004, so it's been a number of years since there's been a comprehensive review. To meet that goal, I have been working with Mayor Middleton and Council President Henderson on how do we put such a committee together. And the idea was that a rep from each of the 6 boards and commissions that advise you would select somebody to serve on that charter review committee, and then have 3 at-large citizens be part of that process. So that's how we came to the group of 9. That was the suggestion through that discussion with the mayor and council president. And I anticipate once we get this process going, I shared this with the mayor, but for the public, if you create this committee by adopting this resolution tonight, we would accept applications for the at-large members starting tomorrow through Friday, November 1st. And then we would come back on Tuesday, November 19th to appoint the members to the committee, again by resolution, and that the first meeting of the committee would be Thursday, December 5th. The goal is to have that committee do its work, bring any recommendations to the council, so we could have you decide whether you want to put anything on the ballot in 2014. That's the goal in terms of having the citizens decide any changes in the charter. So that's the basics. I can go over any of the specifics in the resolution if you have any. So.
Actually, Counselor Henderson volunteered to head this committee. So she can give you some ideas that we want to make this a public process. This is going to be a public process. And she can give you some more ideas of what our intent is for this committee.
Well, generally, it's always a good practice to review your charter, usually about every 5 years. So it's been 5 years, and we didn't really review it in 2008. We just made some housekeeping changes. In 2005. One of the things we did is we changed the way we elect counselors to by position instead of at large. So that is something that we could consider. What we're hoping is that citizens will review the charter. Staff will have recommendations. There are some things that are outdated in the charter, but we would like to take a look at electing counselors, maintaining it by position or going back to at large. A lot of people I've spoken to would like to see us consider, or at least have a conversation about term limits if possible. And then any other suggestions that people might have that makes this document what it is. And it's essentially the Constitution of our city. And I think we should be reviewing it about every 5 years. And so this process will be a combination of those people who have served on our boards and commissions who are willing to serve, and then 3 members at large, which will be appointed by the mayor and then approved by the council, and we'll meet twice a month and then make a recommendation back to the council in a timely manner with the ultimate goal of putting this on the May 2014 ballot, which is a primary election ballot.
So when we say I appoint them, it's by the council and
Yeah.
all the other groups saying who we want on,
Right.
or what we want to do
Right.
on that. It's not. I'm not going to be choosing
Right.
3 people I want on there. It's going to be a group
So
decision.
you appoint by consent and then we
Right.
approve, yeah.
So we'll have a list for the council, and they will give feedback to the council president, and then she and I'll talk about it. So, but this is the first start in the process. This really doesn't do anything but let us get into starting the process.
So there is one qualifying thing that I would want to bring up is that citizens who are interested in serving need to have lived within the city for a year before being appointed to the committee. And are we leaving in the qualified elector,
Again,
Pam? Yes?
I would
Okay.
propose that you do that. That's the same
So-
standard to run for office. And as you said, this is the equivalent of the Constitution. So
So can you clarify what a qualified elector is, or have Pam clarify what a qualified elector is?
A qualified elector is someone who's eligible to vote in elections within the city of Sherwood, which means they have established residency, they've registered to vote.
Great.
So there would be an extra step for us in terms of making sure that any of
Qualified.
the appointed members meet that qualification.
Right.
But we're prepared to do that.
Right.
So
So I just wanted to bring that up.
Does anybody on council have any questions? Go
I
ahead.
have just a couple of things. So the charter for the city is available online on our website. It would be under the council. It would be a really good opportunity for citizens who are interested in this to review the charter, which is our city's constitution, and that's why it's so important what we do. But I also want to make it clear that this group will make recommendations that will then potentially go to the ballot, where the entire citizen group has the potential to vote on them and has the opportunity to vote on them. They don't unilaterally make a decision and change the charter. Any changes would be voted on, and I think that's really important. And I like that. I'm really grateful that we're starting this process because I've been wanting to have that conversation for a while. We did put a charter amendment up, or revisions up on the ballot a couple of years ago, but we didn't have this process. And when I reviewed with all of our neighbor cities, Wilsonville, Tigard, Tualatin, everyone in the surrounding area, they all had a charter review committee that brought back things. Now, my question is, do we get to ask, I heard Council President Henderson say, potentially they could look at term limits, potentially they could look at, do we still want to elect by seat or do we want to do it at large? Can we offer the committee some ideas of things we'd want them to research?
Just tell me what you want me to bring up, and we'll pursue it.
So we just tell you directly, and then they can just take a look at it? Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
And don't we vote on those? We're going to be able to vote on those individually, correct, on the ballot?
That's what I read.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we
I
want
would
to do.
suggest. I think what
Correct.
you've done in the past is you've grouped everything together. In most jurisdictions that I'm familiar with, if there's 4 or 5 amendments, voters get to vote on each of those separately.
Absolutely,
So
that's
I
what
may
we
like
want.
3
yeah.
out of the 5, but I don't like these 2. So
Correct.
That's really the best way to do it, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. I'm very grateful, so thank you.
So yeah, those meetings, of course, will be open to the public, just like any other board or commission meeting.
And we will hold those meetings, or we're planning to hold those meetings in this room, so we will tape record them and put them on the website so folks can watch what the Charter Review Committee's deliberations are.
Do I have a motion?
Can the public ask a question?
Citizens' comments is right after this, so this is just like a.
But it pertains to how you're structuring this.
You can ask us during the comments because we haven't even done anything yet. This just allows us to actually get started on it. So you can. Did you fill a form out? Okay.
So I move we adopt Resolution 2013-055.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Citizen comments. Do we have any other forms? Oh,
Can I also just procedurally ask something? This is separate from, I don't want my time to be used. I want to make this suggestion separate from my 4 minutes. It's a very easy, quick one.
go ahead and make your suggestion.
Okay, my suggestion is because Barry Elsner and Hammond are the ones that put this charter into place, and it's been their model charter, I would like outside counsel to shepherd this process, completely separate from Barry Elsner and Hammond, because they have, in my opinion, a vested interest in guiding that charter the direction they want it to be guided. I want some outside counsel that you guys can ask questions to, the citizens can ask questions to, that has nothing to do with these people.
You can take that under consideration, City Manager.
Great, thank you.
Next is,
Wait a minute. So I really actually have other.
now you're going on your 4 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
now I'm going on 4 minutes. So I still fundamentally have a couple questions for this council. We did an RFP to get new attorneys, and it was a flawed process. We were going to revisit that as a council, and it still hasn't been done yet. I would like to know when we're going to revisit that whole process of going through to get a city attorney, and it was, the way that it was structured before, there was only one set of attorneys that applied, and it was Barry Elsner and Hammond. So please, can we have a good, separate process that doesn't preclude interested people, attorneys, for that? So that's number one. And number two, I would like to know what, I mean, have you guys done your review of the city manager yet? Is that something that the citizens can still comment on? Or have you guys already done your review of him?
It's still in process.
Still in process, okay. So my comment there is, we still need an open process for the citizens to be able to comment on that process and to know, I mean, what is that process now? We used to have a public hearing, and it's not, the only public hearing that I've seen is that you do it on the criteria, but we don't have a night where people can come in and talk about whatever they want to talk about, good or bad, with the city manager. So whatever that process is and whatever the deadline is before you guys to do the review for people to put information in, I'd like that. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is we don't have anything, we only have one item that I know of that's on the ballot that's coming up, and we're having trouble with the sign code again. And I was hoping that we were going to revisit the sign code because we still have some very fundamental flaws. And I know that it's a problem all the way around, but part of the problem that we still have is that the city of Sherwood has carved out for itself its own exception. So it gets to do things. If it's a city-sponsored event, they get to use banners, they get to do a lot of other things as long as they get their special permit. Meanwhile, the people who are just making a political statement have a more rigorous standard. And that's just one of the problems that we have with the sign code. Before, when it came through, there was just a lot of flaws to it, and it was finally pushed through. I would like to start that process again, and I would like to have, again, a separate set of attorneys, because these are the attorneys that already went in there and sprinkled their acknowledgement or their saying it was okay, that sign code was okay. I don't think it is. I don't think it's legally okay. You know, it's like the big three car companies. You know, they do a bean count. You're going to get so many accidents, and only, you know, how many times are you actually going to get sued? I think that they take the approach, an aggressive approach against the citizens. I don't think it's fair, and I think that we need to concentrate on some third-party neutral, because Barry Elson and Hammond, they've been here way too long. They view this as their own pod, and in the meantime, we're being subjected to crazy rules for political speech that I think are unconstitutional. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Neil Shannon.
Give him hell, Neil. Never. Neil Shannon, 23997 Southwest Redfern Drive. Seems like deja vu. Robin mentioned 2 years ago we had a city charter ballot put onto the November ballot. Brookman Road annexation happened to be on that ballot too. So we've got Brookman Road annexation coming up again. I do very much appreciate the approach to the city charter review this time around. 2 years ago, we had a split city council that put that charter provisions on the ballot. It was a take it or leave it, and while it was referred to as minor changes and tweaking, there were some major changes involved in mayor's terms of office, in replacing of empty seats for city council. So I really do appreciate the fact that you're getting citizen comments on this for a right and proper review on the charter. So I think you're doing a good job on that one. So thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Christensen.
Kurt Christensen, 22520 Southwest Fair Oaks Court, Sherwood, Oregon. I have to say that this is not my most favorite part of the day. My most favorite part of the day was about 11 o'clock when I was teaching reading to a small group of first graders. I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. You're up late and doing things that isn't always pleasant. I don't agree with many of your decisions, but that's the way democracy works. I have a couple of items that I would like to bring to your attention and insert into the record. Some of the items have been passed on to the council. On the city charter issue, I think it's a positive thing to review it every 5 years. I'm a little bit leery about the speed that we're suggesting that it be undertaken. When we review the Constitution of the United States of America, it can take several months and years to do it. And this looks like it's on a fast track, and I'm a little bit leery about that, so I'm urging lots of caution in that area. The first article that I want to talk about and bring to your attention is the fact that Hillsborough and the Tualatin Valley Water District has decided not to play ball with Sherwood. It doesn't look like they're going to share the water that Sherwood is pumping through its $40 million water system. It looks like they're going to go and play by themselves. And in 2005, when we had the election to get the water from the Willamette River, one of the things that was heavily stated by the proponents of it was that sooner or later Sherwood was going to get buy-ins from neighboring communities that were going to help lower our water rates. And this evidently is not happening, as it looks like we're already looking at increasing the water rates for Sherwood. And I'm wondering whether the water system, the golden elephant that we've built, has become and is too expensive for 18,000 people. So I have shared with you a copy of the 2000 agreement with Tualatin Valley District. And there is a possibility that you can just throw up your hands and let them annex the water system so that they can take over the capital costs. I know that I can no longer afford to water my garden at the current rates. I've gone to a very complicated dribble system to make my flowers grow. And I know there are other people that are in the same boat. There are other concerns involving the water that I wish you would look at. I think it's imprudent to have the same engineering firm, Murray Smith, continue with a master plan. They were the original engineering firm that was used to promote the 2005 ballot, and were the principal engineering firm that has been part of the construction. And just like was mentioned a little bit ago about the legal consultation for the city, sometimes it's good to go outside the flock to get a different opinion. Finally, with regard to the water, I would really like a public acknowledgement by the council on, does the city of Sherwood have water rights to the current amount and the future amount of water that we have expensively contracted to pump uphill from Wilsonville to Sherwood? Do we own it, or are we just leasing it, and thus is at risk at some future point? The Tualatin Valley Water District are making a very clear statement that they are going to own the plant. They are going to own the water rights. I'm not sure whether we do, and I think the voters, they need to know that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, and staff will get back with you on that.
Okay. Any questions? Oh.
Mr. Claus.
Robert James Claus, 22211 Southwest Pacific Highway. Incidentally, I've heard some terms used that we own that water. We know about broadband experts now. I think Pam was one. I think that cost us $4 million, and we're still looking for the money. At least it was on her website. Be careful. That's an appropriative water right. Now, that may not mean anything to you, but appropriative water rights are not something that you own the water. You own a right to a particular amount of water under very strict conditions. And nobody but a fool says they own the water. Now, the Willamette is the only non-overscribed river in the state of Oregon. Every other river is oversubscribed, and that one's becoming oversubscribed. Now, if you know anything about it, that's enough to make you alarmed. But here's the point. The reason you get referendum initiative and recall is because people lose faith in their elected officials, and they lose faith in the way you structure government. I think there ought to be a citizens committee where we move to restructure this city entirely, because the city manager form of government we got here is not working. at all. You're getting a number of things that occur. You're headed for litigation. I've started in the first step of it, hoped I would never need to get there because I know what it takes to get it through the full court system. I was there as a very young man in San Diego, and I think that took us 9 years. In the end, the city really regretted having litigated it, but you're in the same position because you've created multiple sets of rules. You're letting the stuff go on 99W where somebody violates the state building code, they come out, they can't do anything about it because it was structured around the lawyers through your staff. And what I would caution you is everybody, I think, with the exception of 2 people up there, are up there for what they can get on the side and through it. They aren't to make it work better. And a strong city manager form of government only works if it is monitored very carefully and there are steep penalties for deviation. When you sit down and you find out what we're paying for an acre-foot of water and what Sacramento is paying for an acre-foot of water and what Portland is paying, you have to start wondering if the whole thing's failed. And it's failed because over and over people look what they can do for themselves on the account until they're not paid. And that's a mistake. And what I'm suggesting, you're getting all this discriminatory treatment because you get these little pods of people that say, well, so-and-so got away with it, I can get away with it. And then we are paying you through attorney's fees to defend our rights. That's only going to go so long. Then you're not going to have this system anymore. Because you cannot come at this system in a fair way. It's structurally flawed. It has tainted 5 of you counselors, in my opinion, and I believe I'll find out in depositions later. We'll know I've been accused of libel and slander about Walmart. That'll be part of the cause of action. We're building them slowly and carefully. But it occurs because you don't have an information channel. It starts with your city manager who filters it through the staff. It starts with your city attorney that somebody's batshit crazy when they don't like them. And then it turns out, oh, you did overpay for your water line. But we couldn't have a public hearing on that because the staff 40% override thought it was a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Claus. Chris West.
Chris West, 23779 Southwest Shady Grove Drive. Today I understand that at the Washington County Board of Commissioners that the city offered its full support for the county's planned improvements on 12th and Sherwood Highway, including the removal of the signal between the Albertson and Regal Semina centers. Given that fact, and that tonight you passed resolution 2013-054. I would hope that with the committees that are going to be created out of that resolution, that as they begin to work on updating and amending the city's TSP, that will deal with, in part, the improvements to 12th and Sherwood Highway, that there will be a conscious effort among the participants in those 3 committees to guarantee reasonable access to the businesses affected by the changes that are going to occur to the TSP. And in particular, I would hope that access off of 99 will be part of that for the Regal Center, in addition to the completion of the extension of Baylor Way, all before the signal was removed. The city required that the signal be there to guarantee reasonable access to that development. And now that you've signed off on the county's plan, which includes removing that signal, the city, needs to guarantee new reasonable access to those businesses affected. Plus, there's still two unanswered concerns that need to be addressed by somebody. And I've raised these before, is how does a pedestrian signal at that location improve the traffic situation? And second, will first responders have access to the Regal Cinema after the improvements are done? Council President Henderson, I really appreciate your comments to the TriMet representative about effective public involvement. I think the situation with the signal is a prime example of the failure of that outreach, because the simple fact is, after 2 short weeks, we have over 1,000 people that are informed in our community about the removal of this signal, and that's more than there are on the Bowman football Facebook page. Nothing against Bowman football, trust me. My son plays on the JV, so I'm a big supporter, but that's just a reality check of how much can be done through correct public involvement. And the city, the county, TriMet needs to learn how to do this, because you simply don't know how to do it. So I would hope that the city would use this 1,000 people as an asset to help solve and find solutions to the access to these business centers, and how you amend your TSP and not result in some disenfranchised citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And don't forget the meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay. Ms. Meyer? So I don't say her name. You don't need to give your address. Just say.
You didn't want to say my first name, did you?
No. She told me it was a good call.
Okay, hi. First, I forgot that I wanted to comment on this, but Chris's comments reminded me, and I would like to also echo his disappointment with council's perceived support of the removal of the signal. What I would really like to talk about is that I do really appreciate your passing the resolution to review the city charter. I think it's a fantastic decision, and appointing a committee to put together some recommendations, I think, will be very well received by the community. I do have some questions. First, it would be interesting to understand what the recommendation of staff was in regard to the formation of the committee. It would be really helpful to understand the financial impact that the committee and potentially staff and attorney involvement will have. I would imagine that you have that from staff already. It would be helpful to also understand what kind of weight or criteria will be used in the committee's recommendations as you're reviewing those recommendations. So those things would be really helpful to understand. Additionally, the other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is actually budget review and finances. While I, again, agree and support Southwest Corridor expansion and appreciate the opportunity for citizen involvement, I think that what that leads to is a lot of questions, and I think that that will lead to a lot of questions by the community, particularly in terms of monetary impacts, traffic impacts, and with our new finance director in place, we've talked a lot about in recent meetings about city commitments and what those look like, but it would be really helpful as Sherwood citizens are looking at the ballot and looking at these items that we really have a very clear, detailed understanding of what the city of Sherwood commitments are currently in a very comprehensive manner. So we have a clear outline of all city commitments, all outstanding commitments, the financial impact of what has been paid versus what is still owing, where those monies will come from, and how that will be impacted by the taxpayers today and in the future. I think it's really important before citizens are asked to vote or presented with votes that our government and our staff within the city are really helping our community understand the implications behind voting a yes or no or a yay or nay or what have you. And I don't think that we have a really clear understanding of all of the city's commitments currently, whether that's associated with a particular development or an upcoming or a pending or a potential annexation, or the impact the Southwest Corridor expansion will have specifically on our city. So understanding those things and having a clear, detailed budget with not just the basics, but overall capital improvements would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think the city manager will get with finance, community development, and Council President Henderson can probably answer a lot of those questions to you later. Nancy Taylor?
Nancy Taylor, citizen, taxpayer in Sherwood, voter since I was 18 years old, and present here tonight, been present Tuesday nights ever since I told you I would start coming. Start out, I applaud you for wanting these two committees that you're talking about, but I sat through most of the meetings of the special committee only to see the work that they had done basically flushed down the toilet. Sorry to use that term, I know that's a vulgar term, but I felt very co-opted, and I felt what happened during that time I sat through the many, many meetings was vulgar. I want to remind the council of one thing, and that is, this isn't your city, this is the city of Sherwood, and it belongs to the citizens of Sherwood. It belongs to a majority of the taxpayers. It belongs to the businesses that continue to pay here. Not the new ones, not the future businesses that we're banking on, but the current businesses that have been here since I've been here. The theater, you're going to take away their light, and the theater's been here for as long as I have. Albertsons, Safeway. You're going to make all kinds of changes based on one new development, but these companies have been here for a long time. I don't understand. I just don't understand you all. Anyway, one other comment. I don't know if you know this, but Tigard is thinking about going with the Clackamas River, not the Willamette River. And good grief, before you make any more changes, do think about what Susan Claus said. Sometimes the city manager and the mayor, because they're new to the community, because they're new in their positions, may need something new like new attorneys. They may need something new like a new way of looking at the finances. They may need new things just because they are new. And so I'm going to support that we look at this at least. And when you're changing the charter, you need to look at, when you get a new group in, maybe they have new ways of thinking outside the box, and maybe you want to give them tools. And maybe those tools would be, they get to put before the citizens. Do you want to be able to have new attorneys that are either attorneys that only represent our city, not a lot of cities, not a lot of different special interests, but just our city? Think about it, please. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I need to make an apology to the people that are coming up next because I haven't got back to your email, but I was going to. I've been gone. I was out of phone contact for a week, which was great. Ann Reed and Katie Bollingheimer. And I went to the grand opening of Roses, by the way, when it was opened.
Anne Reed, non-resident. Katie Bodigheimer, resident.
Sorry.
Well, no problem. Thank you for letting us speak again. We're here again regarding the removal of the traffic signal or good alternative access to our space. As some of you may know from previous meetings, we're here from Roses. We have served and supported the community wholeheartedly for 10 years. We serve through local events, the chamber, sports, athletics, and donations to nonprofits. We also have specials for veterans, seniors, and kids. We continue to be a local business that's highly concerned with the accessibility to our restaurant and our 40 employees. It still doesn't make sense how our signal can be removed without proper access in place, or at least in the plan and already signed in place to allow. It's something that was meant to be there at the beginning of the center, so how can it be removed now? Baylor is a nice idea for helping with the connectivity issues in the area, but is too far away and does not seem reasonable to be a replacement for the main access. Our main access is valuable to many businesses and is needed for vehicle traffic. It's a safe pedestrian crossing and is a valuable part of the community relationship between businesses. We, amongst them, have the ability to share between the two shopping centers with other businesses. I've met many of the small business owners, management, and employees around the restaurant, across the street, and in the Sherwood area. Through this, I have met some amazing people and very enthusiastic individuals about this community. Even losing one of these businesses and their employees' jobs is disheartening to me. Or it could be our restaurant if we lose customers. We need to focus and look deeper into the community risk of removing the light, not just how it works with the road improvement plan. As an alternative, let's put our focus more on the right-in from Highway 99. We need your help on a couple things. One is to help us reopen the decision to remove our signal and review in more depth to either keep the signal or help us gain access from the right-in on Highway 99. Two, I'd like to propose that Washington County, City of Sherwood, and the Sherwood community all work together with ODOT to review the alternative option of the right-in on Highway 99 if it proves to be a better option than the light. I'd be happy, as well as I believe Katie would too, to participate in this process. I spoke at the Washington County meeting near the end of the meeting this morning and was told that they support the right-in on Highway 99. Please let us know where the city is at on this process and how we can help assist to speed up the process. Without our signal or the alternative right-in off 99 placed before the construction phase or the removal of our signal, if that's the decision, we may not have enough business to keep serving and employing residents of this great community. The right-in from Highway 99 will also help traffic flow during the construction phase. Thank you, Katie.
So just kind of reiterating what we've been saying, what Chris has said, what Ann has said, ever since we, as Roses, found out that the signal was going to be taken out, we've done everything that we can to reach out to people who have authority to say that we're not for this. We don't think this is good for us. So we've reached out to you guys personally at the meetings, the commissioners, the special committee, just to make sure that we are the spokesman for the employees at my restaurant and the customers who are also citizens of Sherwood. And so if the signal is going to be taken out, which it seems like it is, it's frustrating because we've really fought for our front door to stay in. And when we were at the committee last week, the city council had not taken a stand. And now this morning we know that you have, and it's to take the signal out, which is not supporting us. And I know there's more to it, but our main point is we want to feel supported as a business. So if the signal is going to be taken out, making sure that the access that we are given, if it is on 99, which we think is great, that you guys support that with us. Just making sure that since our front door is being taken out, that we have an access that people know it's there, they feel comfortable getting to us, and they're still going to come to Roses, to the movies, to Crazy Sushi, everything in our complex. Our complex and Roses, we want to feel supported by you guys. So, anything else?
Yeah, my biggest point is if you guys could help support us in getting the decision, getting a stance with ODOT. Help us support the Highway 99. County commissioners specifically told me that they're for that. They have nothing against the 99. I mean, according to what they told me in the meeting and after. So if we can get your support, can we go to ODOT? Can we collectively get together and go to ODOT to get them to maybe help persuade a decision? I mean, I don't know how that works. So, I mean, we just need your help in order to even go to ODOT from what I've heard. So
Just your guidance.
Your
We're
guidance,
not
anything,
sure
you know.
what we're doing.
During council comments tonight, I think we'll address that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
And thank you for serving, too. Appreciate your time.
Anthony Bevel?
Anthony Bevel, Sherwood, Oregon. I've lived here since 1998. I know a lot of people would say leave sleeping dogs lie. Well, you know, I opened up the Oregonian yesterday, or was it a couple of days ago, and there on the front page it had an article about SeaTac Washington, where they are proposing a living wage of $15 an hour. Now, I was thinking, well, how can SeaTac Washington put this on a ballot, and we are told, you know, through the summer that, hey, you can't do this. It won't go through the system of laws. I don't understand that.
There's people that are saying
Oh. Yeah, I don't understand that. How SeaTac Washington can put it on the ballot, and Sherwood, Oregon, who had a golden opportunity to do what was right, just, you know, hey, we can't do it, and just let it go like that. I really don't understand that. I mean, I think we're going to have to live with that on our conscience. We had a golden opportunity. We let it go. You know, the amendment that at least what I read in the Oregonian, it had safeguards there for small businesses. And I won't go into that. I mean, you can look that up. But the people are going to be given an opportunity on Thursday to vote for it, whether you want it or not. And, you know, there are businesses who say, hey, this is not a good deal. And there are also, you know, the smaller businesses that say, hey, you know, we can live with this. So, again, I think we all need to revisit this again. If SeaTac Washington can do it, Sherwood, Oregon can do it. There are a lot of similarities, or at least the way I view it, between SeaTac and Seattle being that close, Sherwood, Oregon, and Portland, that close together. I don't think we need to let this dog lie and just kick it to the curb. I think we need to revisit it again.
Thank you. Lori Stevens.
Lori Stevens, 15630 Farmer Way, Sherwood, Oregon. Mayor, Council. I just had some comments about the charter. First of all, I also agree with Council President Henderson that it's about time that we revisit that. I've been in Sherwood for 17 years, and I haven't seen hardly any changes or updates. So, but I did have a comment with regards to the restructuring. I'm assuming that we're keeping the structure the same as far as a mayor-council government, and meaning that the decision lies with the elected officials and not a hired official in the form of a city manager. And then the comments, or the 3 at-large citizens would also be part of the decision-making body. So when we restructure it or put it in place with the recommendations for whatever, that it still will just be the same kind of city government that we have now. In the way that city governments were planned, for the most part, you have mayor, council, and a manager's hired to carry out the decisions made by a city council and a mayor, or make sure that laws are carried out and help prepare the budget and things like that. They're not the be-all, end-all, hold the veto power, whatever. So I just wanted to make sure that that is the intent and that is the plan under the new charter. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll get back with you on those answers. That's the last citizen comment I have. Now I'd like to go to council announcements. Councilor Grant? Councilor Butterfield?
Do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Want to make sure that we give a hand out to everyone that helped vote Greg Lawrence in as coach of the region in this particular region. He is now going on to a second tier of voting where he could possibly win Region 8 and, win a couple $1,000 and do some good things. But really want to thank everybody for voting for him. He's a great coach. I've been around him for years, and I just think he's a great asset to our city. So thanks again for voting for him.
And I think the council will come back with something in the near future, thanking him for what he's done for the community.
Not yet.
Councilor Folsom?
Well, you alluded to something, so I don't know if I should bring it up now. I appreciate the questions that our citizens pose, and I appreciate the mayor saying staff will get back to you, but I think there's a lot of value, if possible, especially for the visitors or the viewers watching, if we could potentially answer some of those questions now. And you mentioned that in council comments, we might be able to do that specifically with the Washington County meeting this morning. So I just had written down a number of questions I was going to ask staff. So I don't know if now's the time or when they get going. Should I do my little sort of sidelight announcement now? I just want to let you know that next weekend, October 25th and October 26th, is opening for Beauty and the Beast, and invite all of you to come. It is very fun. There are tickets available, but I'm not sure for how long. 78 kids, their families and friends are snapping up the tickets pretty quickly. And then November 1st and November 2nd, we are also performing that. Thank you goes out to the schools, specifically Marianne Funderhyde and Jeanette Godfrey. And I also just have to tell you when we had to move, because this weekend is the Harvest Festival at the middle school from 5 to 9 on Saturday the 19th. The Spook Alley is being built. It's a very fun family event. While they're being built in the same gym we'll be performing in, we have moved to the Senior Center. And so I just gratefully thank Teresa Calkins at the Senior Center. She has the pictures of rehearsal going up on the Senior Center slideshow today from yesterday. So I love our community. It's a great place to live. So a couple of things that I know we could quickly answer from the citizens' comments. I just wanted to speak directly to Mirta about the budget process. Julie, do you have the next meeting that we are starting, having a budget meeting with our committee?
Yes, we'll be meeting next Monday at 6:30 in this room.
In this room. And what's really great about these budget meetings in advance of the actual process of adoption of the budget and going through it line by line is we're able to capture a lot of those questions that you asked about. I mean, a lot of the really large capital improvement questions, specifically, say, the very large water treatment facility and all of that has been built over the past years. When that came to the citizens, there was a very large voters pamphlet explanation from the city's perspective. Then there were the pros and then the cons. I remember I wasn't part of city council at the time, but that's a really good resource, and those may still be on file somewhere. But what's really great about the budget process, if you follow that along, a lot of your questions can be answered. I know before Neil Shannon became a member of the budget committee, he followed the process and was just vigilant in trying to understand all of the things that you were asking about. So that, and then I was just going to quickly ask Pam, when was our last charter update? It has been 2005 or 2001-ish?
2008.
2008, we did an update, a revision, or so it.
You want to correct that?
Yeah, Linda's been. This is her 9th year.
I have a version. Okay, my version in my Bible of Sherwood documents says that it was approved March 1, 2005. And I thought we looked at some changes in 2008, which is why I mentioned that.
We removed the requirement to have an election that mandated an election to go to the Willamette
Right.
River water. So we had that election, and then we removed that line item, but we didn't make any other changes.
And you did not do a comprehensive review?
No, and we did not form a citizens review committee.
No, and so the
this-
comprehensive last review would have been 2005.
Yeah, but we didn't have a charter review committee in 2005 either. The council reviewed it, but we didn't have a citizens review committee.
So this is good. But the charter has been gone to the ballot with the revision in 2005. It's been about 8 years. So we're a little delinquent in doing that. But it has been within, I heard, 2000 or 17 years, and it's been a lot more recent. We adopted home rule in 2001, correct?
Well, 2000, forgive me, but 8 years is not unreasonable at all to review a charter. It's a lot of work.
And I said not many changes in 17 years.
So I think you're perfectly reasonable to do it at 8 years. I also would agree that it is customary to have a citizen-based charter review committee to make recommendations to the council. But I would clarify in response to one of the questions that only the city council has authority to refer a measure to the ballot in the way that we're proposing. So you will receive recommendations from the committee, and it will be your decision what to refer to the ballot.
Right.
And in what fashion.
Right. Those, as a counselor, I have to admit, though, the recommendations coming from the citizens are vital to me. And that was, in the last process we went through, I did vote not to send it to the ballot because there was not citizen comment allowed or citizen process allowed. So I'm very, because it is, the Constitution is representative of what the citizens will, in how they be governed, should be. So that's really important. But then, Mayor, do you want to, can we go to the Washington County conversation? Do you, yeah.
Sure, I can tell you what happened today, and then Tom Pessimir and Julia can give you more information about the project. But I got a email from the mayor this morning at about 8:30 and said, "Can you please go to the Washington County Board of County Commissioners because they're going to talk about this project, and there's a chance that they want to make sure that the city's in support of the project, not necessarily removing the light, but the project itself." So I and Julia Hyduk, our community development director, did go and testify and confirmed that the city is in support of this project. We have very similar concerns to what you have been hearing for weeks from the businesses. One of the things that we heard today that I had not heard from a county official is that that signal would not come out until Baylor Way improvements are complete. And I think that's very, very important in terms of the timing and the sequencing of the project. The other aspect that you heard from folks tonight, and I think the city staff's ready to pursue this, is if you think we should go work with ODOT and push very hard to get additional access to that property for the businesses off Highway 99, we're ready to do that. And I would ask you to give us some very clear direction if that's what you think we should be doing. It was a good meeting with the county board. There is the open house tomorrow night. I think there's still, as Mr. West said, issues about pedestrian access. There's still issues about access for emergency fire and police. So there's still issues that will be discussed through this process that are important. So we all kind of have to stay engaged. But for me, in going to that meeting, hearing the county staff say they would not remove that signal at a public meeting until the Baylor Way improvements are done was a very important bit of information that we had not had until this morning. Counselor.
So I have a couple of questions. You said the project. I think that that's really important for me to hear. The signal is a small piece to the puzzle of the total project. Julia, you likely will be able to answer this question. How large is the project? What's the scope of this project? How many millions of dollars? What's the impact to our citizens? And the overall project is much larger than just the one stoplight.
Yes, and I'm going to defer to Tom for a little bit of that. I think that the overall project is $12 million, and it's basically improving the intersection from Adams Avenue across Tualatin Sherwood on the other side to Borchers. So widening, doing improvements, and access and signalization is one piece of that bigger puzzle. And, so I guess the overall impact to the community, there's a lot of both local traffic, but also freight traffic and commuter traffic that goes through that intersection on a daily basis.
How many of our taxpayers' dollars goes into that, or is that $12 million funded by the county because it's a county project?
It's through the MSTIP, which is our residents pay taxes. Tom, help me out here.
To the region, but not necessarily through the city tax. This is not part of our budget process. Of course, it's taxpayer dollars, but it's a regional money that could have potentially gone to another community. But instead, they saw that this was a very large issue because that is incredibly crowded. I tend to go the backdoor way, which is going to be the Baylor way eventually anyway, to avoid the congestion at certain times of day because the stoplight gets backed up clear back through the stoplight through Les Schwab. For coming from my direction where I live. But so my next question, well, Tom, do you have something to add?
Well, sure. I don't think all the questions got answered there, so let me just add a little bit to what Julia said. So first off, I'll do the financial. It's the Major Street Transportation Improvement Program that the county put in place back in, I think, the late 90s. And so to some extent, you're right. It is, taxpayer money, and those monies could have gone to other parts of the county. But I think that's pretty much what's happened over the last, 20 years. Is most of the monies that the residents of the city of Sherwood have put into that program have gone to other places of the county, and now we're finally getting somewhat a proportional share coming back into our community from the money that we've put in over a long period of time. So. I think we're just getting back to somewhere near equal with this $12 million investment in this project. What the county is trying to accomplish with the overall project is really to address the concern that you've heard and I've heard and we've all heard for the last 10 years of Tualatin Sherwood Road being a road that nobody wants to travel because you end up in a parking lot for a large portion of the time, and so. They've really looked at this program as how can we provide the most throughput on Tualatin Sherwood Road given the constraints of 99W. Both are very busy arterial roads, have a lot of traffic going through them, and it's one of the highest utilized intersections in the state. So what they're doing is they're going to extend the primary feature is to extend an additional through lane across from Tualatin Sherwood to Roy Rogers that will go all the way past Borchers. Before it comes back in. That provides a huge volume impact to being able to get people through the intersection quicker and not have so much of a backup going towards Tualatin. The other major, I think, key is additional turn lanes and reconfiguring things, but one of the things that the county found is if they want to make an improvement, it's actually going to improve the situation for 15 to 20 years. So we're talking not just about a short-term improvement here. They're really looking to do something that has a great magnitude, is the removal of the signal. And that's where, we've been working with the county for a long period of time to say, okay, well, if you're going to remove the signal, then what sort of access are you going to be providing back? And so we've gotten assurances on the staff level for quite a while that they're going to do the Baylor Way improvement, but fortunately, they were able to come out today and say publicly that they're going to do that, which I think is a big key and allows us then to focus on other issues such as access off of 99W.
So that's my next question. How do we assure that? Because political winds tend to change. How do we put teeth in our willingness to, be a partner in this project? And I know it's $12 million that's being invested by the county, but what can we do to assure that we get the Baylor Way done before the signal's taken out, 99 access, maybe a right-in, those sorts of things that really do benefit that area. What do we do?
Well, I think it's a consistent, working with the county and monitoring what they're doing and making sure that they're following, what they say. Obviously, if they suddenly change their mind and say, oh, we can't do Baylor, then obviously we're probably going to have a conversation about, well, then
you can't
take
out the traffic light.
What is the future of that signal? So,
well, I
think that we will do that. I guess what Joe said, and I think is important is, the city hasn't invested a lot of time with ODOT on the 99W signal situation, and I think what we're saying is if that's something that's important to you, then staff will be happy to invest our time and our effort and our capital to try to make that happen. That's an unknown. I mean, we can't make any guarantees about what may or may not happen, but we can make our best effort.
So one suggestion for your consideration tonight is a simple motion directing staff. And if it's bigger than just access, if it's the timing of the signal, because I think I've heard that's a challenge, but the timing of that signal, and ODOT controls that intersection, it's another thing we can talk to them about. But a clear direction from you as the policymakers and the elected officials would help us when we go talk to ODOT. It's one thing for staff to go say, hey, we think this is important. It's a different story when our elected officials are saying, yes, this is very important for our businesses, and there's this county project, and we need better access for that Regal Cinema site. That's really what we're trying to do, is to get additional access to that site.
With much appreciation to the fact that I have different expertise than a traffic engineer or somebody capable of comprehending how to unsnarl the mess that is currently, I just want to voice my support for doing whatever we can to ensure that those businesses have great access, because they are very vibrant, active businesses. I go there all the time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree with Councilor Folsom, and I think that we need to be forward-thinking in addressing the congestion issue. And we are, as you said, receiving $12 million here. And so I think that a very good way to do that, which is what I would like to do, is I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to work now diligently with ODOT to get those businesses their right-way access or right turn access from Highway 99. I need a second.
Hey, Matt, you've actually built roads before. Councilor Langer, have you studied this plan more intensely than I have?
But there's been a motion and a second.
Oh, yeah.
Now, who seconded it?
Grant.
Did you want to?
No.
Oh, okay, then the motion you want to repeat the motion, please?
I move that we direct staff to work with ODOT to obtain the right turn access from what I'll call is the Regal Cinema complex, for better term, from Highway 99.
Well, we have to.
Yeah.
A motion's been made and seconded.
He seconded it, so we have to vote on it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. And also, obviously in this, we will be getting back to the property owners and keeping them updated also.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mayor and Council, if I can just add on to that, if that's okay. I just want to step back and just talk about the process and reiterate that this has been a long process, getting even to the point where they've made a decision on a design option. And then once they make a decision on the design option, there's still flux. And that's what this is moving into, where we're talking about, okay, how do we make sure the access is okay? How do we make sure the pedestrian access is okay and emergency safety is addressed? And so I just want to, I guess, more say for the public as well as council, that's what the county is working on now, and that's what staff will continue working on. And so it's still very important, even though there has been some discussion here this evening, to stay involved in the process, to go to the meeting tomorrow night, to share our comments and concerns with both the county as well as the city staff, so that we can make sure that as we continue through this process and refine the design, that we're addressing as many issues and concerns as we can.
And I want to thank you for getting really involved, because this did kind of sneak up on us, this project, the way it was kind of came out. Now I think we're more informed, and we're trying to help, and we will help as much as we can, the property owners, so that this is a good project for Sherwood, not just for the citizens of Sherwood, not just for the county. It's everybody now. And I think they've really opened up to us on it too.
Mayor, and I want to reiterate, I think you hit the nail on the head. I got a lot of questions from especially Chairman Dyke, like, why all of a sudden is there so much concern about this project? Because from the county's perspective, they've been talking about it for a while, and the reality is a lot of people just found out about it. And they're asking questions, and they want to understand why this would happen and how's this going to work. And everybody's not always at the same point in time. And a lot of folks are just asking questions that, were asked months ago by staff. And the county at least is now doing some things, and I think they're listening. So we'll see.
I appreciate you all going to the meeting this morning, because it was a call from one of the commissioners this morning real early. So, and I really appreciate you going there and giving our perspective on the project. So I think it's really going to work a lot better than it would have had we not got involved to the extent we are.
Thank you.
And Matt, keep an eye on the road, man. Make sure we get the 99.
So can I make a suggestion? After the open house tomorrow night, and we open a dialogue with ODOT on a access point off of 99, is there some place where we can have a link on the website where folks can go for updates, or a link to what is talked about at those meetings? So if people just want to read the minutes, review what's on the agenda, can we have a link on our page?
I think there might already be something on our page, but I will
Okay.
make sure, and if it's not, I will make sure it's on there, and if it is on there, I'll try to make it more visible and prominent on the website.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Mayor?
Oh, Mayor.
Now Bill has
Oh,
something.
back to him.
I just want to make one comment. We're all counselors up here, but in reality, we're citizens, just like the rest of you. And when we vote, we are voting for what we believe is going to benefit our community. Even though we don't always agree, it's still a democracy, and we're part of it. So I just want to, throw that out there, that we work hard to try to make decisions based on good information and what we think is best for our community.
Thank you. Councilor Grant. Oh, you guys already deferred. Oh, back. Did you already?
One thing. I just wanted to say, just very briefly, thank everyone who came out to the Onion Festival last Saturday. It was awesome. My daughter and I had a chance to serve the onion rings and get our fingers a little crispy crittered. But it was great fun, tons of community. Reptile Man was there. It was just awesome. So thank you to everyone who came out and supported the chamber.
And the only comment I have is Veterans Day is coming up, and we're going to have an event, and we'll give you more information on that later. City manager comments?
And that event this year will be on Veterans Day, which is on a Monday this year, November 11th. It'll be in a different location. We're going to go indoors this year. It's going to be at the high school in the Commons rather than outside. So we hope that once the community center is built, that this event will be at our community center, but obviously that's not ready yet. So I wanted to address at least some of the more simple questions tonight, and we definitely will loop back with folks that testified tonight, and then also keep the council in the loop. Susan asked about the RFP for city attorney, and that's really, I'm waiting for direction from you as a council. The city attorney works at the pleasure of the council. So we did go out for an RFP back in the summer. We only got one proposal. I don't think anyone was happy with the process, and I'm looking for direction from you in terms of what you want to do in that. So that's where I am, and I'm ready to start that process no matter what you want to do as a council in terms of the process.
So what you're saying, to be clear, is that you got one respondent to the RFP, which was our attorney.
That's right.
Correct.
And the reality is I've never even opened their proposal. It's sitting in a box in my office. So, I mean, so the question, as I see it, do you want to do another RFP and try to do a broader and make sure we get a better turnout or a better result? That's one option. The other option is, as some of the councilors have said, do we want to hire our own city attorney, which is what cities do. So I'm not trying to put that back in your lap, but that really, the city attorney works directly for the council. And I'm ready to go whatever route you want to go once you give me that direction.
I think what would be good on that is on our meetings with you, we can express how we feel on that, and then as a council come to a consensus. It's easier than trying to...
Sure. I'm not asking for an answer now, but I wanted to address that because that
Absolutely.
people want to know. I think people want to know, and they deserve to know what we're going to do in that process. Mr. Christensen said about cautioning us to go too fast in the charter. I would caution you to not go too fast and not rush it. I know. I think this will be a good process, but if it is rushed, sometimes that's not a good result. So, Mirta had a number of questions, but one of the things she asked about, based on the special committee experience, was would there be a significant budget or cost for the charter review? And there would not be. There's an interesting idea about who is the attorneys to represent us on that, and I'm going to think of that and probably talk to the counselors about that option, as the mayor suggested. I don't anticipate a lot of costs. At the beginning, there'll probably be some attorney costs to explain the process and the rules and things like that, and then at the very end, to wrap things up. But I don't see the city attorney attending those meetings. I'll be attending those meetings, but there's no extra cost for me to attend more meetings, so that's part of my job. And the CTAC ordinance, which I did also see. I am not an expert. Maybe Pam can talk about it. I'm guessing that the fact that that's Washington and we're Oregon is probably the crux of the difference, but I think...
I'm happy to get back to council on that. Yeah, I know that we provided an opinion, but I don't want to do something
Sure.
off the cuff.
So we'll loop back on that. Ms. Stevens came up and made a lot of good comments. I wanted to clarify. She said we have a mayor-council form of government, and that's incorrect. We have a council-manager form of government, and there's a big difference. And I think that's part of the charter, is people understanding in terms of the relationships between the council and the manager and the form of government. But we don't have a mayor-council form of government. So, and I'm happy to meet with her individually to kind of go through that.
I think that's more like Beaverton has that, isn't it?
Beaverton has a strong mayor form of government.
He is almost the city manager there.
Yes.
Right.
But he gets paid.
He is paid.
It's a
He
paid
is the
position.
city manager.
The mayors don't.
Beaverton is the only true strong mayor form of government of any Oregon city.
Not even Portland?
Portland is more of a weak mayor in terms of they have a commission form, so the mayor has more power in a sense, but because they have commissioners that are responsible for bureaus, it's a hybrid.
Okay.
But those are things that will be talked about during charter review. So, and everything else, I think I'd like to spend some more time to get back to people with good information. So, I
Okay.
didn't have anything else for the council unless you have questions for me or staff tonight.
And I want to thank Public Works for his update. And
You're going to see those. I hope you're finding them valuable.
they are. They're very valuable. So,
thank you.
and at this time, we're going to convene to an executive session.